Mr. Mayor, you have impressed a lot of people over the last month or so. With your resume first, Harvard, Oxford, volunteering for service in Afghanistan, and also with your performance, the way you've answered questions, the way you're answering them today. But what I also hear from a lot of people is, I like the guy. He's incredibly impressive when I see him on TV. I saw him in that town hall on CNN. But man, the mayor of a town of 100,000 people known for its football team, I'm not sure he's ready to command the largest army on the face of the earth. How do you answer that question?
Well, for one thing, I'm one of the very few people in this conversation who actually has experience in the military. But
not just the military question, to be the leader of the free world more broadly, jumping from the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Let's be honest, it's a tremendous leap for anybody. There is something audacious to the point of being obscene about anybody looking at the Oval Office and thinking they can walk in there and simply do the job. And yet what we've had is 45 people, mortals, who have gone into that office, and some better than others, with the experience they had and the aptitude that they had, been able to lead this nation. You know, I think what's most important right now is the kind of person who's walking in there. Are they the kind of person who understands how to take advice? Are they the kind of person who understands when you need to move from the listening phase, where you acknowledge that you might be wrong, to the phase when you've made a decision and you need to implement that? This is the kind of thing that a mayor of a city of any size needs to do. I understand it's more conventional. People have an easier time swallowing the idea of somebody who's maybe marinated in Washington for a long time, been in Congress or the Senate. You could be a very senior U.S. senator and have never in your life managed more than 100 people. I think this is an executive position that requires executive experience.
Isn't one of the lessons of Donald Trump, though, that there is value in having some relationships and knowing how the Senate works and knowing the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader and the people that you can make deals with?
Obviously, you need to understand how to manage Congress, just as I have to manage a relationship with the legislative body that passes my budgets back home. But I also think we want something completely different. Look, we want Washington to start looking more like our best-run cities and towns, not the other way around. And I'm very worried that we've just sort of taken as a given, because we've continued to look to people who are in many ways creatures of that order that has established itself in Washington. We accept things that are completely unacceptable. We accept the fact that in our so-called democracy, the person who gets the most votes doesn't necessarily get to become president. We accept the fact that many of our fellow U.S. citizens, like in D.C., don't even have the same political representation as the rest of us. We accept the fact that there are policies that the vast majority of Americans want to see happen, like universal background checks, for example, on guns, something that 80% of Republicans believe is the right thing to do, and Congress can't make it happen. There's clearly something wrong, not only with the outcomes in Congress, but with the set of assumptions around them. And part of how this president got to where he is was that the American people have had enough. I don't like the way that was expressed in terms of this president getting elected, but the idea that we can just return to the norm, that what we need is just to reestablish the way we were doing things before this president came along, misses the fact that so many people, especially in the industrial Midwest where I come from, voted to burn the house down because they believe the entire system has failed them. And so turning back to trying to do more of the same, I think just makes us worse off in terms of the causes of which this presidency is a symptom.